Good morning, everybody. I hope you all are doing fine, and welcome back again to another episode of the newspaper analysis. And right now, as you can see, I have a little bit of eye rash, and that is why both my eyes are not looking the same. But still, uh, I would want you not to concentrate on that, but to concentrate on the board. Okay, so as you all know, we do this on a weekly basis. So every week on Sunday, we bring out all the important news items, the important articles, and also if there is any important editorials from the exam perspective for you to know. So we bring it all in just one go. Okay, we don't want you to go to the newspaper, read the newspaper all day every day, because sometimes what happens, it gets very tedious, and sometimes you might feel like, okay, I just don't feel like reading today, and the moment you don't feel like reading, the next day it again adds up to another layer of another news. So that is why even if you have prepared for the whole week, so you can tally this with us, and if there is any important points that you have left, you can also include it in your notebooks. Okay, so every day we do it on Sunday, every week we do it on Sunday at 7 a.m. You can follow us, and also we in this episode we are going to learn all the important articles and the editorials and important news from 1st June to 7th of June. And so from the first one, let us start. So in the environment section, we had certain weather alerts. Okay, so recently you must have seen that Assam has undergone a lot of weather changes, and we had seen lot of other weather phenomenon, like we had seen the coming of cyclones and everywhere, but it was in the actually it was in West Bengal, but somewhere or the other we also felt the heat. Okay, so Assam flood situation in Grim state, so an orange alert for rains has been given. Now this alert is important because you must identify the type of alert and the color of the alert and what does it specifically mean, and these alerts are actually issued by Indian Meteorological Department, as you can see. Okay, so they give certain color coded alerts so that it become very easy for people to spot out the difference, that whether we need to be very careful, or it's just a casual or it's just a simple casual practice of alerts. Okay, so green, we have a green alert, means that although there might be a weather event, it doesn't require any kind of advisory to be issued. So it's like today weather. So today's weather is like, it might be slightly raining, but it is not of a major thing. Okay, you can simply continue your day-to-day activities, and you need not to be bothered about it. Now a yellow alert denotes bad weather conditions, and the probability of conditions might even get worse. Okay, so sometimes you might see a little bit of rain coming, and then you'll see a thunderstorm, and then slowly and slowly and slowly the weather gets worse and worse and worse. Okay, sometimes people get stuck for hours and hours, and they're not able to come back to their house. So such kind of weather issues or weather alerts are given to people, so that even if it is not an important work for you to go outside, it is advised for you to stay inside house. Now an orange alert has been issued when extremely bad weather is expected. So this orange weather or this orange alert was issued in Assam recently. So we had a very very bad week because we had seen a lot of worse weather. There was lot of power cuts, and everywhere there was lot of wind blowing, and everything was cutting down. So trees were falling and people were dying. Okay, so many things have happened. So again in this week, the Indian Meteorological Department has again issued it, so you have to be careful. Now red means, a red alert is an alert issued when an extremely bad weather condition is expected to disrupt transport and power supply. So bad weather that it is going to disrupt your power supply as well. That means you might not expect power to come back, to be resupplied to your house again after 24 hours, might even be cut for even 48 hours as well. So sometimes it happens because extremely bad weather conditions, it is not advised for people to go out and work, and lot of these kind of activities, they come to a halt when such kind of issues happen, when such kind of weather conditions happen. And since this is monsoon, so that is why it is kind of a normal thing for us right now to witness it. Now next, for the environment section, we have Dr. Purnima Devi Burman. So Dr. Purnima Devi Burman, I think mentioned it many times in my sessions, because she's always in the news, because she actually is a conservationist and she works with the stock. Okay, so a reputed educational institution of Mayotte Island of France has signed a 2-year agreement with conservation biologist Dr. Purnima Devi Burman. So she actually works with what? She works for the conservation of biodiversity, in tune with the community-based model adopted by her for conservation of endangered greater adjutant stock. So now we have this very endangered species in Assam, and that is a greater adjutant stock. And this particular conservationist, Purnima Devi Burman, she has actually adopted a community-based model. That means she went to village by village, her organization went there, and then she gave training to the people. How do you need to, conserve these species? What is their habitat? Sometimes people unknowingly or unknowingly may destroy their habitat. So she went village by village, place to place, and she gave local awareness to the local people that, see, this is an endangered species. She is a very important biological biological species, and it helps us balance our environment. So please do not cut down their trees, do not destroy their hatches. And that is how she's been successful right now to conserve this adjutant stock. Okay, so that is why this institute in France is now tying up with her, and now they have a 2-year term where they are going to work together. So sometimes what happens, we always think that we need to do something big in order to become big, but actually, greatness always starts at the local level. So if you want to do something big for your own country or for your own region, for your own locality, it should start right away from your own house. And then you slowly, when you move forward, people start recognizing you. Because we might think that we live in the world of internet, so people have access to a lot of information. People do have access to a lot of information, but many a times people ignore such kind of thing. So always it is better, if you want to do certain changes, if tomorrow if you become an officer, if you are posted in certain village kind of areas, so it's your first primary job to actually go and visit these places yourself. You cannot rely on the intermediaries to come and give you certain information. Okay, it is always better for you to go and access those places and see what the problem is there, why people are not responding to certain ways, why people are not really aware of such kind of things. So it becomes your duty at that point of time. Now from the history we have is South Bholanath Borua. So Department of Commerce, Cotton University, in association with Indian Accounting Association, Guwahati, has celebrated Commerce Day at the Cotton University premise on the 30th May to commemorate the death anniversary. Now you know who he was. So people who have one of the pioneer businessman from Assam, in whose name B. Barua College was established at Guwahati in 1943. Okay, so who have studied in this college, you will know about him. So he donated land. He also donated land to Banaras Hindu University and Calcutta University, and then he has given a lot of a lot of direction to those people at those times, so that they can come and establish college. Because at that time all people were not rich. Okay, there was only a small minority section who used to own a lot of land, and they were well educated because they had access to go to good universities in Calcutta, in London. So that is how they saw that what this land is currently lacking is a lack of education, and for education you need small things to do. Okay, you need to get out some get some land from the people, you need to establish a college, you need a visionary who will actually vision it, like if we establish this college, how good it will be for the next generation. So that is why we actually remember them, not because of their business, but because of their philanthropic attitude and their vision of a prosperous Assam. Now achievement we have is Bruhat Soma, 12-year-old Indian American 7th grade student from Florida have won the Scripps National Spelling Bee. So every time you watch the spelling bee, you will always see it is always an Indian who will always win this. Even last time there was one small guy, a small boy, I think he was barely 4 or 5 years old. I think he was 5 or 6 years old. His name was Akash, and he was the youngest ever to win the spell bee competition, and he could spell such words that would actually give us actually heart attack or headache the right way if we listen to such kind of words. So maybe somewhere or the other we Indians do have that capability to remember and write down all these long important words and also the spellings, because right away they will not give you the spelling. All you have to do is you have to identify that particular word, because many a times the English words sound similar, they are written they are somewhere or the other, their alphabets are quite similar to the French or to the so these kind of things. What happens if you're writing an E on the back, that means it is French, it is something which has originated from the France. But if it does not have an E, maybe it is British. So it becomes very difficult to identify such same kind of pronunciating words from where they have originated. And if you see this the spelling bee competition, it is quite interesting. And from history, we have a very important editorial, which is Nirmal Prabha Bordoloi. I hope you all know her, who is Nirmal Prabha Bordoloi. You must have heard her name. Now, her unmatched power of creativity is worth remembering, especially on her 20th death anniversary. So this year, we have celebrated her 20th death anniversary. So on her honor, so there was a very interesting editorial on her. Now, Nirmal Prabha Bordoloi was born to Dharmeshwar Sarma Bordoloi and Mukutbala Bordoloi on June 20, 1933 in Sibsagar. Okay, she was born there. She came from a family that traces its lineage to an astrologer named Arjun Sharma of Kannauj. So their family have traveled from Kannauj. Okay, now impressed by his scholarship, Swargodev Godhador Hingho, the then Ahom king, appointed him as Bordoloi or royal astrologer. So they are not talking about her father, they are talking about the lineage. That means her grandfather who came from Kannauj, and they were actually an astrologer. And since they were an astrologer, he was so good at such kind of he was so good in such kind of astronomical predictions that the Ahom king Godador Hingho, he appointed him as Bordoloi, and from there they actually got the title Bordoloi. Nirmal Prabha showed her brilliance right from her childhood, consistently ranking first in her class. She was married off at a very young age, and she was not fortunate enough to have a happy married life. So her married life didn't go so goody-goody as we all would have expected. As a result, she struggled to establish herself, and her indomitable spirit was her only companion till the end. So sometimes when we are breaking off from marriage, there are a lot of societal pressures, especially for a girl. They question your character, they question your commitment and everything. So it becomes really difficult for a girl and even for a boy. But the boy's challenge is different, and the girl's challenge is also different in the societal world. And if you imagine something in the early 40s, you can imagine how bad the societal situation was back then. So she had to fight with all that. Her life itself was an inspiration for many people in Assam. She was a versatile lady who contributed immensely to the Assamese cultural and literary fields. A closer look reveals that her name is attached to every genre of Assamese language. So everywhere you'll find her in poetry, you'll find her in a novel, you'll find her in a satirical works everywhere. Now, essentially a poet, she continues to be the most cherished name for the lovers of the Assamese poetry. Her poetry was characterized by a clear and luminous perception, which gave her style lucid impressions and compelling imagery. So if you have read her poems, you will know how good the poems are and how you can transform a certain particular topic and subject into a great and a vivid imagination, something that will trigger your memories from your past or maybe from your surroundings. So this is what the magic of poetry lies in. Now she was a trendsetter not only in the realm of women's poetry in Assam but also in the entire history of modern Assamese poetry. So she was a trendsetter. She was a great scholar, though poetry was her forte. Nirmal Prabha also carved a niche for herself as a very serious and successful researcher. Apart from her doctoral thesis titled The Treatment of Nature in Assamese Poetry, her other major works include deep research at Devi, Shiva, and Surya. So these are recent publications till 2000. So these are certain important aspects of her that you should know. So if you are still seeing my session, you can actually make a screenshot of it. Now, a born poet, her mastery of the language and her intuitive musical musical ability not only made her a top lyricist in the Assamese language but also placed her on par with none other than Dr. Bhupen Hazarika. Now, Nirmal Prabha Bordolai was a children's writer too. So she was more like some Sudha Murthy. She also writes a lot of children's stories, and they all do write in a very colloquial language. That means it's very easy for you to understand. It's not a very literate language, not a very academic language, that it find very deeper meanings there, but simple, spoken English. Something when you read it, you can say spoken as me, something when you read it you find it relatively easy for understand or for the story to follow. She was also a humanist of the highest order, and most of her lyrics and poems does reflect her love for human beings, writes from her childhood days. So she was a great humanist and she respected the fundamentals of human rights. Now, several incidents which she through her autobiography prove that she was more of a humanist than a feminist. Okay. Now, some way or the other, feminists are also a humanist. They do have a humanist approach, but the modern concept of feminism, some way or the other, I don't agree to it the way they portray. And more or less, feminism has been capitalized at this point. It's been commercialized, and that is why feminism's deeper meaning has some way or the other has faded away. Now it's more of a that a capitalistic kind of the feminism, the commercialized one, where you actually make it everything saleable, where you make everything saleable from every point. But feminism was actually the idea of feminism right away was not so much different from humanism, because some way or the other they also wanted to say that women also do have rights like human beings. They also have feelings, and they also need a deeper philosophical a way to understand life, to navigate through life, and they have their own opinions to share. They have their own contributions in the society. Now, very few know that Nirmal Prabha Bordoloi was also a novelist, though she had written only one major work of fiction, a novel that single work is enough to prove her expertise in that sphere of literature. Mostly she writes fictions, like for example, the Jalapadma, her only novel, is set in the backdrop of Majuli. It highlights the realities about its people, their hopes and aspirations, their joys and sufferings, and their dreams and imagination through the family of a poverty-stricken widow who gives away two of her sons to a hot rod. Okay, at that time when Majali was raging in floods, so she wrote all these things in the backdrop of that, and she's a widow, so she doesn't have a husband, so it becomes very difficult for her to raise two kids. And just because they were poor, but they had hope, they had aspirations, and that is why she had to give both her son away to a hot rod. Okay, now she was also a great translator, and now I'm saying this because she didn't give her sons to a hotro, but the storyline in the Jala Padma. So be careful while writing it down. So she was also a great translator. She had an irresistible passion for reading poetry from different cultures, and leading her to translate numerous poems from China, Japan, and Russia. So you see, she was very, very good in translating works. So she knew multiple languages. Like, it's very difficult for us to read Chinese, and even now if you try and understand Chinese, it's going to make you crazy, because Chinese language is very difficult. But but Japanese and Russian All these, now people at that point of time only, she translated works from these kind of languages into Assamese. So there is hardly any literary genre where she has not left her footprints behind. So we have found she is a poet, she was a poet, she wrote a novel also, and then she also wrote children's stories, and then she also wrote a lot of translated works. So you can see every other genre she has had her contributions. Now she was a biographer also, she wrote biographies, and her most famous biography was of Rajanikanta Bordoloi, known as the Emperor of Novels. Okay, this was her biographical work. She was also a playwright and made significant contributions to field of Assamese drama. So she was a playwright, a children's writer, a novelist, a poet, a translator, a biographer, everywhere. So some of her plays were Meghdut, Fulkuor, Beola, Urvokhi, and Tritiyo Onko. Okay, you can make a screenshot of this. Now, Nirmal Prabha Bordoloi was the second woman writer to become the president of Assam Sahitya Sabha after Nalini Bala Devi. Okay, so she became the second woman writer to become the president of Assam Sahitya Sabha after Nalini Bala Devi. So there were two women. So you can now consider how great she was, because she have led her footprints everywhere, in the children's writing, in the novel section, in the biography sections, in the playwright. Okay, so it's a difficult for writers to switch between genres, because every genre has a different style of writing, have different way of presenting, have different deeper fundamental principles. Like for the satire, the satirical genre, generally they give a very gloomy picture of the society, but in a very comical way. So it becomes very difficult for you to portray such kind of a situations. But Lokminath Besborua did it. Okay, then Padmanabh Gohai did it. So all these things, you have to know who wrote what. Because at that point of time, writing a playwriter is not only about imagination, but also about keeping in mind about the societal conditions, like what conditions the society was in. So you have to understand the deeper meanings of the problems of the society, and then you have to translate them into a story, into an imagination, the kind of problems that people will actually relate to when they read such kind of stories. Okay, so it's very difficult to switch between genres, and hats off to her. She wrote in between genres, and she was well versed in every way that she did. Okay, now achievement is Major Radhika Sen of India. Now UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres conferred a prestigious award on the Indian women peacekeeper. So she was a peacekeeper. Now there's a difference between peacekeeper and peacemaker. Peacemaker is somebody who will go and make peace at times of war. Like now, for example, there's war between Hamas-ridden Palestine and Israel. So now there's a war going on. So let's say there's a third party, there's a third force which when they have made peace, they have initiated peacekeeping, and they have initiated ceasefire. So that is a peacekeeping force. But then you have to also go for that is peacemaking. But let's say there's another force which is the peacekeeper. That means after making peace, there are multiple chances that war might again break out. So that is why you have to maintain certain peace. You have to keep the peace there, okay, to a considerable amount of time. So she was there as a peacekeeper. Now she is a true leader and role model, and her service is a true credit to the United Nations. Now Major Sen, who served with the United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, received the prestigious 2023 United Nations Military Gender Advocate for the Year Award. So she was placed in the Congo. Okay, Congo, Zaire, all those kind of places. Now on the second, we have a disaster management of Northeast Frontier Railway. Now Northeast Frontier Railway to conduct survey of disaster prone hill sections. Okay, so hill sections, the hilly areas, it's very difficult to see what kind of disasters it might happen, because hilly areas are not are very much prone to landslides and everything. So you have to keep track of whether such kind of places can train travel by, can the commercial goods go by. So these are the disaster management things that they need to follow. These are certain protocols, but this protocol is important because they are doing a survey, and which will be done by using a non-invasive sensors such as LIDAR, which is light detection and ranging, and optical photogrammetry besides infrared mapping and ground penetrating radar and airborne electromagnetic technology. So they are using this hi-fi technology. I think lidar based questions actually was asked once in the UPSC also. Okay. LIDAR technology is used to obtain highly detailed and precise elevation data. Okay, they give you minute spectacle detail, which it will be very difficult for people to go and write down things, note down things, but they give you very minute details. So you can make a 3D image of that, and then you can see what kind of problems it might creep in later. A lidar survey is conducted using airborne or terrestrial scanners to capture the topography of the project area, including the existing railway tracks, nearby terrain, and any relevant structures. So it is mostly done by airborne or terrestrial scanners. Okay. Next we have in the technology is a plastic boat. This one is very important for you. A boat built out of a discarded plastic bottle is on sale on the massive Brahmaputra. So there are two people who have made this excellent innovation, because they have reused plastics, and by collecting all these plastic bottles they have actually made a boat out of it, which you can actually sail in the river as well. So this is what they have done. Is the boat which was flagged off from Bogibeel here is expected to reach Guwahati after a 13-day journey covering approximately 450 km. The boat with 4 youths on board is on a mission to clean the mighty river of plastic. So what they do is they are sailing through that plastic boat. On the way they are going to collect also, but at the same time it's a mission to raise awareness of people that you should not throw plastics, you should not throw all these things in the river. Because sometimes what happens, we do have this tendency, like when people are sailing through boat and all the maritime ways, they eat a lot of stuff. They'll eat chips, they'll eat plastics, and what they'll do is they'll throw that into the river. Okay, so it creates a lot of problems for the ecosystem of the river, of the water, and people don't actually understand that. But let's see this for youth. What they are doing is they are sailing through this boat, and if they are successful to reach this 13-day journey of nearly 450 kilometers, it will be a breakthrough technology which we can actually use the reused plastics, and we can actually make boat. Okay. The plastic boat is a brainchild of Dheeraj Bikash Gogoi, a river conservationist. The boat has been built out of some 3,300 plastic bottles collected from the banks of the Brahmaputra in the past 3 months. So from the 3 months, you see, they've collected 3,300 bottles. So you can imagine the level of garbage being dumped at the site of the Brahmaputra. The boat is 28 feet long and 5 feet in breadth. As per the plan, the 4 youths will collect plastics from the river and from the banks during the day's journey and halt during the night. So it's 28 feet long and 5 feet in breadth. So the 4 youths will collect plastics from the river. Okay, it's 28 feet long. Now for the award section, we have Garifima village of Nagaland. So why this is in news? Garifima declared as best performing tobacco free village on World No Tobacco Day. We all have a moral responsibility to protect our children, the underlying principle of the crusade against tobacco consumption in Nagaland. So, it was a crusade against the tobacco consumption. Now, World No Tobacco Day. I have seen so young youths, what they do is they'll stand near any kind of tea stall or any kind of, those pan ghumtis, and what they will do is they'll eat all these pan masala. Though that Ajay Devgan wala pan masala, that they'll eat all that Rajnigandha and all that. So they have this they'll mix the tobacco and then they'll consume it. So some way or the other, we must understand that we should not consume tobacco that much, because tobacco is firstly harmful for your own health, and secondly it also gives a very bad impression on the because earlier what happened, it was very easy for people to smoke outside. People used to smoke everywhere. In the hospital also they'll smoke, in the transport system also they'll smoke. But right now you see people don't smoke on buses, they don't smoke on trains. Why? Because government or the court has actually banned it, that you cannot do it, because these things are some way or the other should be regulated. Because if you don't do it, then people of the next generation will also see you, will copy you, and they'll do it, and the entire generation, you'll see, you'll have a lot of problems. Now personally you might feel that মইতো বহুত দিনৰ পৰা খাই আছোঁ, মোৰতো একো হোৱা নাই. So it's something, that kind of attitude is, you see, you might not have anything because your genetics might not be of that way, but our environment is such that we are cancer prone area. So when majority of the people, let's say if I take a sampling of around like 100 people, and out of the 100 people at least 10 or 15 will be such that they are going to have cancer related issues after consuming tobacco. So it's a grave problem. People are not dying of old, they are not dying of old age, but they're rather dying of cancer. So that is why it's a great crusade that they have actually taken, and I really salute them because they have taken this moral responsibility to raise awareness against tobacco. Now for the celebration of art, we have Madhusmita Bhattacharya. Now Mumbai-based Assamese singer Madhusmita, now a national name for her Hindi rendering of Suno Sunore Suno. Suno Sunore Huro. Now you must have heard that song. A Borgit composed by Mahapurush Srimanto Shankardev and other such multifaceted musical works has been chosen for the Sangeet Sagar Award by the Abhinandan Sanskrit Goshti, a premier cultural organization of Assam. So this is a one-liner question. You can simply click a photo of it or a screenshot. Now celebration or literature, we have Sahitya Surya Lumerdai. The Arunachal Pradesh Literary Society on the 1st June celebrated the 84th birth anniversary of Sahitya Surya Lumerdai at the late novelist residence at Prem Nagar, Naharlagun. Okay. Now born on June 1st, 1940 at the Siluk village in East Siang district and Adi by birth, and leading light in the world of Assamese literature, started writing in magazines and newspapers in Assam from his student days and highlighting the folk culture and stories of people of Arunachal Pradesh. So he used to write in Assamese, but he used to convey the message and the culture of the Arunachal, and he belongs to the Adi tribe. So that is why they have been celebrating him. He's also wrote editorials for the state's first newspaper, Echo of Arunachal. So Echo of Arunachal was the first state newspaper where he actually wrote editorials. Now regarded as a doyen of journalism and literature in Arunachal Pradesh, Dai had many literary milestones to his credit. Prominent among his works are Prominent among his works are the Udyachalor Hadhu, published by the Assam Sahitya Sabha in 1959, Paharor Hile Hile 1960, and Prithivir Hani 1962 to 63. So these are his one of the most prominent works recognized in the Assamese literature. Okay. Other books include Mon Aru Mon, Koinar Mulyo, and Upar Mohal. On the occasion, the APLS chief announced his seasoned writers Wangsang Jongsang and Thazam Abo have been jointly selected for the Luminous Lumerdai Literary Award. So these are the people who have been selected for the Lumerdai Award, but we had actually to learn who Lumerdai was. So he was an Arunachali Adi tribe, but he wrote a lot of Assamese literature, and he rose awareness, and he some way or the other he celebrated the folk culture of Arunachal, and he helped us reach the culture of Arunachal Pradesh. Now Ruchira Kamboj, India's permanent representative to United Nations, Ruchira has retired. Now she was the first woman diplomat to occupy the prestigious position as the ambassador of India at the UN. So she was the first woman ever. Okay. Now on the third, we have his infrastructure. We have IIM. As you know, the Union Ministry of Education has approved the site for setting up an Indian Institute of Management, IIM, in Assam. Now institute is proposed to be set up in Marabhita in Kamrup district, and IIM Ahmedabad has been chosen to be the mentor institute for establishment of IIM in Assam. So IIM Ahmedabad will be more of a mentor. Now celebration and achievement we have is Pollution Control Board of Assam. Now why in news? The Pollution Control Board Assam has completed 49 years. On 2nd June, the board celebrated its 50th foundation day. Okay, the Pollution Control Board has completed 49 years, and it was established on the June 2nd, 1975 by the state government under the provision of Section 4 of the Water Prevention Control of Pollution Act 1974. It is responsible for environment monitoring and sustainable development of Assam. Now, achievement, we have Dr. Helen Mary Roberts. Now, why is she? She is the first woman from the Christian and the minority community in Pakistan to achieve the rank of brigadier. So, never ever in the history of Pakistan's army, never any brigadier was non-Muslim. So, she is the first one to achieve that category of a non-Muslim brigadier. Dr. Helen Mary, serving in the Pakistan Army Medical Corps, has made history by becoming the first woman from the Christian and the minority to achieve the rank of brigadier. Now, since they don't have anything to eat, they are begging here and there, and they are, facing public humiliation because of their radical extremism in that country. So that is why they want to now improve their international image. They want more loans, they want to improve the international image, and they want to control the rise of the extremism in that country. But I think radical Islam has gone to a height in that country, and it will take another 20-30 years for that country to move back to the state of modernity. Now that country has actually leveled up to the state of the radical Islam to such an extent. Now that country has become more dangerous than even Afghanistan as well now. Now, Brigadier Dr. Helen is senior pathologist and has been serving in the Pakistan Army for the last 26 years. Now, for the science and space, we have China's Cheng Yi. Now, Cheng Yi landed at the designated landing area at 6:23 a.m. in the South Pole Aitken Basin for the first time in human history. So, they are also going to the South Pole, which India have also gone to the dark side of the moon. They have not landed on the South Pole but on the dark side, and this one, Cheng Yi, is going to the South Pole. A Chinese spacecraft successfully touched down on the far side of the moon in the first endeavor of its kind to collect samples from this unexplored terrain. Now, Change 6 consists of an orbiter, a returner, a lander, and an ascender. So there are 4 parts. Now the Chang Yi mission is tasked with collecting and returning samples from the moon's far side, the first endeavor of its kind. Now India became the first country to land near the little explored lunar South Pole region last year, when its Chandrayaan-3's lander carrying the Pragyan rover successfully landed there. Now, Chang Yi's landing site is at an impact crater known as the Apollo Basin. Okay. Now, for the 4th, we have the literature and the technology. Now, Gari Yoshi. Now, what is Gari Yoshi? The literally monthly Gari Yoshi has made history as it marked the first time that QR technology has been used in an Assamese magazine. Okay, QR. If you scan that QR, you will get this entire text of the literature. Okay, now that Assamese magazine, they are using this. A special article in the QR code attached to the June 2024 issue of the literary magazine, Gari Yoshi has made history. In its 31st year of publication, the June 2024 issue of the magazine, published by Sahitya Prakash of the Assam Tribune group, has hit the stands as 3 decades of Gari Yoshi. Okay, Gari Yoshi is a magazine published by the Sahitya Prakash. I think you should write this one down. It's really important for the technology and the literature section. You might have certain kind of questions like that. Okay, so if magazines are adopting the technology, if newspapers also adopt these kind of technology, then maybe we can also reduce the number of paper use. We can also shift to e-newspapers at this point of time, and we can also use QR codes. So QR codes are very small, so all sorts of information can be loaded there. An interview with prominent journalist, Padma Shri recipient and managing director of the Assam Tribune group, Prafulla Govinda Borua, has been included in written as well as audio visual form in the QR code. So you can see his article in that QR code. Okay, scan that and you will get all the information. Now, World Environment Day. The theme of World Environment Day in this year is land restoration, desertification and drought resilience. So this year we have this. I think desertification is a big problem. I think once UPSC also gave a mains question on the desertification problem. Okay. Now since we have lot of deforestation right now, so we will also encounter a desertification problem in the long run. Now celebration, we have World Milk Day. United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization celebrates World Milk Day on June every year. Okay, 1st June. Now, to recognize the importance of milk as a global food and to celebrate the dairy sector, World Milk is celebrated. This year, the theme focused on celebrating the vital role dairy plays in delivering quality nutrition to nourish the world. Okay, since it is a dairy product, so it is some way or the other, it will give you protein, it will give you calcium. It is also going to give you minute multivitamins. So milk is an important aspect of our diet ever, forever. It has always been an important aspect of our diet, and I would always say you to consume milk products, because milk products like dahi, you can say, you can say ghee, or you can say the rich wala ghee, not that annapurna wala ghee. You must consume that good quality ghee, and then also you should consume all these paneers and tofus and everything, because milk products some way or the other should be an important aspect of our diet. And when you are young, if you have a children, let's say the children are below 5 years of age, they should at least have milk products every day in their diet, not in the form of tea. Okay, many of us, what they do is we only consume milk in the form of tea, not that, but you should consume like paneer and stuffs like that. So it's a global food, it's also very rich in nutrients, so you should include this in your balanced diet. Now, Apollo Multi-Speciality Hospital for Technology and Health, now they successfully performed a novel scarless surgery for rectal cancer on an 81-year-old female patient. The medical team opted for transanal minimal invasive surgery, which is called as TAMIS, a cutting edge technique that involves no abdominal incisions. So if you are treating cancer, many a times if you have to cut it out, the cancerous layers, you have to make incisions, cut koribo laibo, surgery koribo laibo. But in this TAMIS wala, the transnational minimal invasive surgery, that means you don't need to have any incisions, and it is very, very efficient technology. Instead of incision, the tumor was resected through the anal canal using a specialized port and instruments. Okay, the procedure, which was conducted under supervision of Dr. Sumit Gulati, was completely painless. So it's a painless surgery, because nowadays if you have a surgery, right after the effect of the anesthesia goes away, you'll have tremendous pain, you'll feel that pain forever, maybe 2-3 days. But now these kind of technology, what they are doing is, in the health sector we actually need these kind of things, because surgery, not everybody is in a mental state to undergo surgery, or in a physical state to bear the pain of a surgery. But yes, if we can use these kind of technology at this point, which can actually do the treatment painlessly, it's a very, very big milestone in the health sector. Okay, now remarkably, the patient was able to consume a diet within 24 hours, so which is very remarkable. Her biopsy report confirmed the T1 cancer with free margins, indicating that she was cancer free. Now, TAMIS is well accepted by patients as there is no cut in the skin and there is no pain. So you will find no incision, no cut and no pain. It will be easy and freezy. Now for the fifth, we have the award and the recognition. Now Justice Ranjan Gogoi, he was a former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Now Justice Ranjan Gogoi, former Chief Justice, was honored with the prestigious UKILP Lifetime Achievement Award 2024 by the UK India Legal Partnership on May 31st. Now why he received that? The award was given at the House of Lords, Palace of Westminster, London, UK. The award comes in recognition of his decades of dedication and significant contributions to the field of law. Okay. Now recognition, we have Sahitya Acharya Dr. Bakhanta Kumar Bhattacharya. Now Sahitya Acharya Dr. Bakhanta Kumar Bhattacharya was felicitated by Nalbari Press Club and bestowed with the Barkhian title. Okay, Barkhian. So you have to remember this. It's a one-liner question. Maybe in the next year you might get this question in your prelims. So you can simply write it down in your notebook, Barkhian. So you can have who received this title. You can say Bakhanta Kumar. Now for the Netherlands, which is on the economy and trade. Now Netherlands have emerged as India's third largest export destination after US and UAE. Now details, we have the main commodities which registered healthy export growth in the Netherlands include petroleum products, electrical goods, chemicals and pharmaceuticals in the last fiscal year. Okay. Now, Netherlands has taken over major destinations such as UK, Hong Kong, Bangladesh, and even Germany. So, according to trade experts, the Netherlands has emerged as a hub for Europe with efficient ports and connectivity with the EU through roads, railways, and waterways. Now, India and the Netherlands established diplomatic relations in 1947. Now on the 6th we have ranking as IIT Bombay and IIT Delhi. Now IIT Bombay and Delhi are among the top 150 universities in the world. Okay, now they have been ranked. Now IIT Guwahati had secured the 344th position globally in the QS World University Ranking 2025. The MIT retained the top rank globally for the 13th time as per the Quacquarelli Simmons World University Rankings, which is QS World University Rankings 2025. MIT has retained the position. IIT Bombay and Delhi have emerged as a top destinations, and IIT Guwahati is on the 344th position. Now, Prakhanto Jyoti Borwa, Biswa Sangbad Kendra Assam will confer the Devarshi Narad Jayantiya Bhota 2024 to the executive editor of the Assam Tribune, Prakhanto Jyoti Borwa. Okay, he'll receive this. Now, this one-liner question may come: who is the executive editor of the Assam Tribune? In that case, it is Prakhanto Jyoti Borwa. These are one-liner question. Maybe you can expect in the next year prelims. Now, on the 7th, you have history. Parboti Prakhad Borwa. Now, why in news? Now, Giti Kobi Parboti Prakhad Borwa's 61st death anniversary was observed. Okay, Parboti Prakhad Borwa. Now, I think this is the only news that I had for this day of the 7th. So, I hope this session was useful to you for all important items that we could present. So, in this entire week, we could only find one of the best editorials which we could present, and the rest of the news was more or less of the election campaigns and everything of the election results, which I think everybody of you must have been following on the YouTube. And on the next episode, on the next Sunday, we'll bring back all the important news items, the important articles, important editorials which we think will be good for you for your preparation for APSC mains. And thank you so much for attending today's session. If you have anything to ask or anything to say, please comment down below, and we'll meet on the next Sunday. Till then, take care and all the best.